For years, South Korea's main car market has been, well, kind of stuck in neutral. But while that's been happening, another auto market has been absolutely flying, just breaking all the speed limits. So today, let's dive into the pretty wild story of Korea's rental car revolution.
To really get a sense of how big this is, just look at this number, 103.2%. No, that is not a typo. In just a decade, the rental car market has more than doubled. We're talking over 1 million new cars. That is absolutely explosive growth. And this chart just says it all, right? While your regular car sales have totally flatlined, the rental market is on a completely different planet. This isn't just a small trend, it's a huge shift in how people in Korea are even thinking about cars. It's all about lower upfront costs, way more convenience, and honestly, less of a commitment to owning just one vehicle. But here's where it gets weird. Buried inside this massive boom is a statistical puzzle, an anomaly that seems to break the basic laws of math. It's the bizarre story of how one city's growth somehow became bigger than the entire nation's. Okay, so take a look at this. It's impossible, right? In 2025, the entire rental car market in South Korea grew by about 48,000 cars. But if you look at Seoul by itself, it grew by almost 50,000 cars. Wait, what? How can one part be bigger than the whole thing? So yeah, how is that even possible? Is there some kind of new math I don't know about? Is Seoul in a different dimension? Well, the real answer is actually way more interesting than that. And here it is, the secret sauce. It all boils down to this one simple but super powerful rule, the headquarters registration rule. Basically, it means that rental cars are counted not where you and I are driving them, but where the company's main office is located. And where are all the headquarters for these huge rental and finance companies? You guessed it. They're in Seoul. See, in the past, these companies used to register their cars all over the country to chase different tax breaks. But those little loopholes are mostly gone now. So it's just way, way easier to register everything under one roof in Seoul. So the city isn't just growing on its own. It's literally absorbing all the registrations from everywhere else. This whole centralization thing brings us to a really important question. This isn't a market of little mom-and-pop shops. It's a market of giants. So who really owns the road in Korea? This chart just lays it all out there. The Korean rental market is basically an oligopoly. A tiny, tiny fraction of companies, just about 5%, control a whopping 90% of all the cars. It is the classic case of a few big fish owning the entire pond. And if you dig in, it gets even more concentrated. Just look at this. The top 3 companies, just 3 of them, control almost half the entire market, 47%. That is a level of market power that, should probably make you think twice about things like competition and pricing. And here's the real kicker. A lot of these giants aren't even what you'd call car companies. An incredible 43% of the entire rental fleet is controlled by just 17 financial services firms. We're talking banks, credit card companies. They've quietly swooped in and taken over a massive piece of the mobility pie. So what does this all mean? Well, this huge corporate-owned fleet actually gives us a fascinating sneak peek, a window into the future of driving for everyone in Korea. Here's why it works. Rental cars don't stick around for long, maybe 5 to 7 years, tops. This really fast turnover means the rental fleet is basically a crystal ball for car trends. What's popular in the rental market today is very, very likely to be what you see in everyone's driveway tomorrow. And wow, the difference is already huge. Just look at diesel. It's practically a dying breed in the rental world, at less than 13%, while it's still almost a third of all cars on the road. And on the flip side, hybrids and EVs are absolutely exploding in the rental fleet, with way more market share than with the general public. This is the green revolution, but in fast forward. And this timeline just shows how fast this whole thing is changing. I mean, back in 2018, diesel was king, making up over 37% of new rentals. Fast forward just a few years, and its share has plummeted to under 5%. And in its place, hybrids have completely taken over, and EVs are right behind them, gaining ground every single day. But this market is anything but settled. With all this change happening so fast, you can bet that behind the scenes, there are some serious high-stakes battles brewing. Fights over mergers, new competitors, and the actual rules of the game. And these fights are going to define the future of how we all get around. So, there are three major conflicts we've got to watch. First, what happens when the two biggest players in the game try to become one? Second, what happens when a car manufacturing giant decides to jump into the ring? And finally, who's going to win the big regulatory tug-of-war that's pulling the industry in different directions? First up, the Glocked merger. Regulators completely slammed the brakes on a massive deal between the number one and number two players, Lotte and SK. Why? Well, as you can see from their statement, they were afraid it would pretty much kill competition and end up hurting all of us, the consumers. Next, a new titan is stepping into the arena. The automotive giant Hyundai is officially getting into the rental business, and you can be sure they are not messing around. As the biggest car maker in the country, they have an almost unbeatable advantage when it comes to getting cars cheaply and quickly. This could seriously shake things up. And finally, there's this constant tug of war over the rules. You've got the big financial firms pushing for fewer regulations so they can compete even harder. Then you have the smaller companies just fighting to survive, afraid they're going to get crushed. And meanwhile, the whole industry is lobbying for changes to lower their costs, but the government's taking its sweet time. It's a messy fight with no clear winner yet. All of this leaves us with one big question. As these giants battle it out and the rules keep changing, who's actually going to end up in the driver's seat of our future? Will it be dominated by a few massive companies, or is there still room for new players and fresh ideas? The race is on, and the winner gets to decide how we all move tomorrow.